First, we need a basic taper candle. Just make it as you made a pillar candle. You may use a blend of white beeswax and container soy wax, or just use pillar soy wax, or just white beeswax, heat it over medium heat. Get your acrylic taper candle molds. Any shade of the mold top can work, as we will trim the top later. Thread the weights and seal the holes with rubbers. Wood color is a brown shade, so dip a stick into a little brown candle dye, stir it into a wax liquid. Drop the wax on a piece of white paper and whiteboard to confirm the color. Then dip a little yellow to make the color more natural. If you feel the color is too intense, add a little black to tone it down. I'm adding a very small amount of red to warm up the overall tone. Wood color can vary in darkness, just make sure the main tone is brownish yellow. After coloring, reheat the wax liquid. When the wax reaches 95 degrees Celsius, add around 8% candle fruit oil. Stir well. Pour the wax into the mold when it's between 85 degrees Celsius and 90 degrees Celsius, up to the desired height. Pour the remaining wax into any silicone mold, which will be used to fill the shrinkage holes at the bottom of the candle later. Hold the weights and wait for the candle to solidify. After about half an hour, when the candle has partially solidified, it's time to fill the bottom shrinkage holes. This is a natural occurrence. When making other pillar candles, you can choose not to fill the holes if you don't mind. But for pencil candles, it's necessary to fill them and ensure the bottom is flat, and I'll explain the reason later. Use a heat gun to melt the bottom of the candle. Pour the wax at around 90 degrees Celsius to fill the shrinkage holes. To ensure the bottom is flat, try not to remove the mold after pouring the wax. Let the candle fully solidify. Remove the rubbers and demold the candles. If your mold is in two parts, separate them first. Twist the candle molds and tap the bottom of the candle on the table or the ground to separate the candle from the mold as much as possible. If the bottom of the candle isn't flat enough, you can use a small knife or sandpaper to even it out. Usually we trim the excess wick at the bottom of the candle, but this time we need to trim the wick at the top. The wood part is ready. Now we're gonna use the dipping technique to make the outer layer. Get ready with a container for dipping. Choose a smaller diameter one to save wax. I'm using an acrylic mold as my container. It has a diameter of 5 cm, also a commonly used pillar candle's mold diameter. Seal the holes with rubbers. You can also use various beverage bottles, just make sure the container is taller than the height of the taper candles we just made. We also need to prepare hot water at around 80 degrees Celsius and 90 degrees Celsius. Mix room temperature water with hot water, measuring the temperature while pouring. I just pour the water into a thermos to keep it warm. The wax needed for the outer layer is white beeswax. Heat it over medium heat. Dye the wax liquid. I'm mixing green, a bit of brown, and black dyes to achieve an olive green shade. After mixing the color, reheat the wax liquid. Pour the prepared hot water into a container, not completely filling it. When the wax liquid reaches around 90 degrees Celsius, pour a layer into a container. In this way, we don't have to fill the entire container with wax liquid, which saves a lot of wax. Completely submerge the taper candle into the water and immediately lift it out. One layer results in a lighter color effect. If you want a darker color, dip it for a second layer. I don't recommend more than 2 layers, otherwise the overall texture will become heavy. Hold the candle for a while. When the surface becomes matte, we can just set it aside to solidify completely. You can also use a rope to hang the candle. As we mentioned, make sure the bottom of the candle is smooth. Otherwise, when dipping the taper candles, the wax liquid will be pulling at the shrinkage bottom and dripping down, messing up the surface. For an even bottom, you may just partially dip the taper candle and leave a little bit at the bottom, then cut it off later, or just fill the shrinkage holes when making the taper candles. After dipping, Don't clean or deal with the wax in the container because we still need to use it later. Also made another color using a little red, even less brown, and some black candle dyes. Use a craft knife and shave the top of a candle just like sharpening the pencil, revealing the wick and the wood color. Use a heat gun to melt the solid wax in the container. Dip the wick into the wax. If you want to leave the wick white, you may skip this step. Decorate the pencil candles. Paint a gold line with gold acrylic or stick on some gold edge stickers directly. Stick 2 pieces of tape on the candle to make coloring easier. If the tape's too sticky, tap it on your clothes a few times before using it. Use a cotton swab or a sponge for less brushing streaks. If there's any fingerprints or dust on the candle's body, just wipe it with a wet wipe. You may remove the wax from the container and reuse it next time. Cut a hole in the wax block with scissors and pour out the water. Then just remove the wax block from the mold like you normally demold a candle. If you use a plastic bottle as a container, you may cut the wax block out with scissors from the inner bottle walls. But if you use an acrylic mold like me, don't do that. Otherwise, there will be scratch marks on the acrylic mold.